The rain was so heavy that night, even the streetlights looked like they were crying. And beneath one of those dying yellow lights, a woman sat on the cold pavement outside a mansion that had once called her family. Her name was Elena Voss, 29 years old. A woman who had spent 6 years protecting a family that never planned to protect her. Her expensive wedding dress was gone. Her diamond necklace was gone. Her husband's last gift to her was gone. And now, even the small suitcase beside her had been thrown outside like garbage. Elena stared at the giant iron gates of the Voss estate as rainwater ran down her face. She could barely tell which drops were rain and which ones were tears. But she refused to cry. Not in front of them. Not for them. Because inside that mansion were the people who had just destroyed her life. The people who had smiled at her during family dinners. The people who called her daughter when her husband was alive. And the same people who had just thrown her into the street 48 hours after his funeral. Her mother-in-law, Victoria Voss. The woman who controlled one of the most powerful families in the city. The woman who had spent years pretending Elena was her own child. Until her son died. Then the mask came off. Get her things out. Victoria's voice echoed through the marble entrance hall. Cold. Emotionless. Like she was ordering someone to remove an unwanted piece of furniture. 2 servants carried Elena's suitcase toward the door. Not carefully. Not respectfully. They dragged it. The same way they were dragging Elena's name through the mud. Elena stood in the middle of the enormous living room, still wearing the black dress from her husband's funeral. Her hands trembled slightly. Not because she was afraid. Because she was trying to understand how quickly love could turn into hatred. Victoria? She whispered her name. The older woman slowly turned around. For years, Elena had called her mother. Tonight, she couldn't bring herself to say it. Victoria adjusted the diamond bracelet around her wrist. A bracelet Elena had personally chosen for her birthday 3 years earlier. Funny. The woman wearing Elena's kindness was now using it to hurt her. You should be grateful I am giving you a chance to leave peacefully. Elena looked at her in disbelief. Peacefully? A small laugh escaped her lips. It wasn't happiness. It was pain. You removed me from my own home 2 days after your son died. Victoria's eyes hardened. Your home. She walked closer. Slowly. Deliberately. You always had a dangerous habit, Elena. What habit? Thinking you belonged here. The words hit harder than any slap. Because Elena remembered everything. The first day she entered this mansion. She was not rich. She was not from an influential family. She was simply a young woman who loved Alexander Voss. Alexander had chosen her despite his family's objections. He told her, one day they will understand that loyalty is worth more than money. She believed him. She believed love could defeat power. But Alexander was dead now. And without him, she was discovering the truth. In the world of the wealthy, love was sometimes just a temporary invitation. Power was the real owner of the house. You know what your biggest mistake was? Victoria asked. Elena said nothing. Victoria smiled. You thought my son choosing you meant you won. She stepped closer. But Alexander is gone. Silence filled the room. The kind of silence that comes before something breaks. And now, Victoria continued, you have nothing. Elena's fingers tightened. That's not true. Victoria raised an eyebrow. Oh. Elena pulled out her phone. Alexander left me shares in Voss International. He left instructions. For the first time, Victoria's expression changed. Only slightly. But Elena noticed. A tiny flash of fear. Then it disappeared. You mean the documents you think prove ownership? Victoria smiled. Those documents disappeared. Elena froze. What? The family lawyer reviewed everything. No. Yes. Victoria walked toward the fireplace and picked up a glass of wine. Your husband changed his mind before he died. That's impossible. Is it? Victoria looked directly into her eyes. My son was sick. Confused. People make mistakes when they know death is coming. Elena felt her chest tighten. Alexander. Her Alexander. The man who held her hand during hospital visits. The man who promised her they would grow old together. Was Victoria really saying he betrayed her? No. Elena whispered. Victoria smiled. That's the problem with women like you. What women? Women who marry into powerful families. She took a sip of wine. You confuse affection with ownership. Elena knew something was wrong. Something was hidden. Alexander loved her. She knew that. But every door she tried to open was suddenly locked. Every person she contacted stopped answering. Every lawyer she called suddenly became unavailable. Someone was making sure she had no way out. And Victoria knew exactly what she was doing. You have until midnight. Elena stared at her. For what? To leave. A servant placed a black folder on the table. Elena opened it. Inside was a legal agreement. Her eyes moved across the page. A settlement. A payment. A small amount of money in exchange for giving up every claim connected to Alexander. The amount was insulting. After everything she had lost. You want me to sign away my husband's legacy? Victoria shrugged. I want you to accept reality. And if I refuse? The room became colder. Victoria walked closer. You really don't understand power, do you? She lowered her voice. If you fight us, you will spend years in court. Elena said nothing. Your savings will disappear. Silence. Your reputation will disappear. Victoria leaned forward. And eventually you will disappear. Elena looked at her. A chill moved through her body. It wasn't a direct threat. It was worse. It was a warning. 1 hour later. Elena was standing outside. The massive doors closed behind her. The same doors she entered as Alexander's wife. Now they had opened as if she was a stranger. The rain immediately soaked through her clothes. Her suitcase landed beside her. Then the final insult. A servant threw a small cardboard box onto the ground. Her personal belongings. Photos. Letters. Memories. Everything they considered worthless. The gates began closing. Elena watched them. Slowly. Metal against metal. A permanent goodbye. She picked up the box. Her hands were shaking. Not from the cold. From realization. She was alone. Completely alone. She walked until her legs couldn't continue. Eventually, she collapsed beneath a bus stop shelter several streets away. The city moved around her. Cars passed. People walked by. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Elena looked at her cracked phone. 3% battery. 1 missed call. No messages. No one. She opened her contacts. Friends. Deleted. Family. Too far away. Lawyers. Unavailable. She laughed quietly. A broken laugh. The powerful always win. She whispered. Then her eyes stopped. At the bottom of her contact list. A name she had saved 3 years ago. A name she promised herself she would never use. Her thumb hovered over it. Her heartbeat increased. Because she knew exactly who answered that number. Everyone in the city knew him. A man whose name was spoken quietly. A man who controlled businesses, ports, and underground networks. A man even billionaires feared. Roman Hayes. The most dangerous man in the city. 3 years earlier, she had saved his life. And he had told her, if you ever need anything, one call. One message. And I will answer. She never believed she would actually use it. Because calling Roman Hayes meant stepping into a world where there were no second chances. A world of secrets, power, and danger. But tonight, she had nothing left. Her fingers trembled as she opened the message box. She typed, I need help. She stared at it. Deleted it. Too weak. Too desperate. She typed again. The debt from St. Vincent Hospital. Her breath stopped. That was enough. He would know. She pressed send. The message delivered. For 10 seconds. Nothing. 30 seconds. Nothing. 1 minute. Nothing. Elena lowered the phone. A bitter smile appeared. Of course. She looked at the empty street. Why would he remember? She placed the phone beside her. Maybe she had made the biggest mistake of her life. Maybe the dangerous man she contacted would ignore her. Maybe nobody was coming. Before we continue with Elena's story, If you enjoy powerful emotional stories filled with betrayal, revenge, and unexpected twists, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. More unforgettable stories are coming. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The rain became heavier. Elena stood slowly. She picked up her suitcase. She had to survive somehow. Maybe she would find a cheap room. Maybe she would start over. Maybe. A sound interrupted her thoughts. A deep engine. Not one car. Several. Elena froze. From the darkness at the end of the street, black SUVs appeared. 1, 2, 3. They moved slowly through the rain, like they owned the road. The vehicles stopped directly in front of her. The headlights illuminated the entire street. The doors opened. Men in black suits stepped out. Silent. Controlled. Fearless. Elena stopped breathing. Then the middle SUV door opened. A man stepped into the rain. Tall, powerful, wearing a black coat. His eyes scanned the street. Then they stopped on Elena. For the first time that night, someone looked at her like she mattered. The man walked forward. Slowly, calmly. The rain touched his shoulders. But he didn't care. Because Roman Hayes was not a man who feared storms. Storms feared him. He stopped in front of Elena. Looked at her soaked clothes, her broken suitcase, her exhausted face. Then his expression changed. Barely, but enough. Because Roman Hayes remembered. He remembered the nurse who saved his life. And now she was standing in front of him, broken, abandoned, thrown away. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Who did this to you, Elena?" She looked up at him. And for the first time that night, she felt hope. But she didn't know. The moment she sent that message, she didn't just ask for help. She had started a war. The rain continued falling. But Elena no longer felt the cold. Not because she was warm. Not because her problems had disappeared. But because for the first time in hours, she was no longer invisible. Roman Hayes stood in front of her. The same man whose name made powerful businessmen lower their voices. The same man who controlled an empire built in the shadows. The same man she had promised herself she would never contact. And yet, he was here. Standing in the middle of the storm. Because of 4 words. The debt from St. Vincent Hospital. Roman looked at her carefully. 3 years had passed. But he remembered everything. The hospital hallway. The smell of disinfectant. The sound of machines. The young nurse who refused to panic when everyone else did. The only person in the room who looked at him not as Roman Hayes, but as a human being. And now that same woman was sitting beside a street with nothing but a broken suitcase. Something inside him shifted. Not sympathy. Roman Hayes was not a man who survived by feeling sympathy. It was something else. Recognition. A debt. And Roman Hayes always paid his debts. "Get in the car." His voice was calm. Not a suggestion. A command. Elena looked behind him at the black SUVs. Then back at him. "I can't." Roman's eyes narrowed slightly. "Can't." She swallowed. "I don't know what you expect from me." For a moment, silence. The men behind Roman exchanged quick glances. Nobody spoke to him like that. Nobody. But Elena did. Just like 3 years ago. Roman remembered. The hospital room. He had been bleeding. His men were demanding doctors. Everyone was afraid. Except her. She had walked up and said, "If you want to survive, stop frightening everyone and let me work." Nobody had ever spoken to him that way. Not before. Not after. Roman looked at her now. "You think I came here because I expect something?" Elena looked away. "I don't know why you came." The pause. Then Roman answered. "Because you called." Simple. 4 words. But they carried weight. 3 years earlier. St. Vincent Hospital. 2:17 a.m. The city was asleep. But emergency rooms never slept. Elena was 26 years old. A young nurse working the night shift. She was exhausted. Underpaid. And completely unaware that one decision would change the direction of her entire life. The emergency doors suddenly opened. Several men rushed inside. Not doctors. Not police. Men wearing expensive suits. Men with the kind of expressions that told everyone nearby to move. Between them was Roman Hayes. At the time, Elena didn't know his name. She only knew one thing. The man was badly injured. "Where is the doctor?" one of the men demanded. The receptionist froze. "We need to follow emergency procedures. Get the doctor now." The man's voice shook the entire room. But Elena wasn't watching him. She was watching Roman. Because despite the pain, despite the blood, despite the chaos, Roman Hayes wasn't afraid. He was studying everyone. Calculating. Like a man who trusted nobody. Elena walked toward him. "You." Roman looked at her. "Sit down." His eyebrow lifted. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." The room became silent. His men looked shocked. Nobody ordered Roman Hayes to sit. But Elena didn't know that. She was just doing her job. "You're losing too much blood," she said. "And arguing is wasting time." Roman stared at her. Then slowly sat. That was the first time in years someone had given him an order. And he actually listened. The surgery lasted hours. Elena stayed. She didn't ask questions. She didn't care who he was. She didn't care why dangerous-looking men were guarding the hospital doors. A patient was a patient. When Roman woke up later, Elena was checking his condition. "You didn't call the police." It was the first thing he said. Elena didn't even look up. "No." "Why?" She adjusted the monitor. "Because you're alive." Roman watched her. Most people who knew his identity either feared him or wanted something from him. But this woman? She simply wanted him breathing. "What is your name?" "Nurse Elena." He glanced at her badge. "Elena Voss." She nodded. Then continued working. Roman looked at her. "You know who I am?" "No." The pause. Then she added, "And I don't need to." That answer stayed with him. After he recovered, Roman left the hospital. But before leaving, he placed a small black card on the desk. No company logo. No title. Only a phone number. Elena picked it up. "What is this?" "A way to contact me." "For what?" Roman looked at her. "If you ever need help." She smiled slightly. "I don't need help." Roman almost smiled. "Almost. Everyone needs help eventually." She put the card away. "I hope I never need yours." Roman replied. "So do I." Because he knew his world was dangerous. And he knew anyone close to him eventually paid a price. But 3 years later, that phone number had become Elena's last hope. Roman opened the SUV door. Inside, Elena hesitated. "Roman." It was the first time she said his name. His expression changed slightly. "What?" "I don't want trouble." A strange silence followed. Because that was exactly what everyone said when they came to him. They wanted power, money, revenge. But Elena? She wanted peace. Roman studied her. "Tell me something." She looked at him. "Did they hurt you?" Elena looked down. Her silence answered. Roman's jaw tightened. Behind him, his men noticed. They knew that expression. The expression Roman wore before someone's world changed forever. "Who?" Elena hesitated. "My mother-in-law." Roman waited. "And her family?" "Names." She looked at him. "Why?" His eyes became colder. "Because I need to know who thought they could touch what belongs under my protection." Elena immediately shook her head. "I don't belong to anyone." For a second, something unexpected happened. Roman smiled. Very slightly. "You still haven't changed." The SUV drove through the city. Elena sat quietly in the back seat. Everything felt unreal. The heated leather seats. The silent bodyguards. The city lights passing outside. A few hours ago, she was homeless. Now she was sitting beside the most feared man in the city. But one question kept bothering her. "Why did you really come?" Roman looked out the window. "You saved my life." That was 3 years ago. A debt does not expire. Elena looked at him. "You remembered?" Roman turned his head. "I remember everything." The answer surprised her. Because she realized something. This man, who everyone described as cold and dangerous, had remembered a simple nurse from a hospital. The SUV entered a private underground garage. The gates opened automatically. The building above them was one of the tallest in the city. Elena stared upward. Where are we? My home. She froze. Your home? Yes. I can't stay here. Roman looked at her. Where will you stay? She had no answer. Because she knew. She had nowhere. Roman stepped closer. Not threatening. Just serious. Tonight, you sleep somewhere safe. Elena looked away. I don't want to owe you. Roman's expression hardened. You already paid your debt. What? You saved my life. The pause. Tonight, I'm returning the favor. As the elevator doors opened, Elena stepped into Roman Hayes' world. A world filled with secrets, power, and danger. But neither of them knew. Victoria Voss was already making her next move. Because while Elena believed she had escaped the monster, she had no idea the real monster had just awakened. Inside the Voss mansion, Victoria stood beside the window watching the city. A glass of wine in her hand. Her phone rang. She answered. Is she gone? A voice replied. Yes. Victoria smiled. Good. Then the voice continued. But there is a problem. Her smile disappeared. What problem? She contacted someone. Silence. Who? The person on the other end hesitated, then said one name. Victoria's face lost all color. Roman Hayes. The glass slipped slightly in her hand. Because Victoria Voss feared many things. But there was only one man she truly feared. The now. That man was standing beside the woman she had just destroyed. The first thing Elena noticed about Roman Hayes' penthouse was the silence. Not the peaceful kind of silence. The kind of silence that existed in places where powerful decisions were made. Where people didn't raise their voices because they didn't need to. The entire city stretched beneath the floor-to-ceiling windows. Thousands of lights. Thousands of lives. But inside this building, everything felt controlled. Calculated. Like every detail had been placed exactly where it belonged. Elena stood near the entrance, still holding the broken handle of her old suitcase. A strange contrast. A woman who had just been thrown away standing inside a place that looked like it belonged to someone who owned the city. Roman noticed her looking around. You can stop looking for an exit. Elena turned. I wasn't. You were. She frowned. How would you know? Roman removed his coat and handed it to one of his men. Because that's what survivors do. The answer caught her off guard. For a moment, she didn't see the feared man everyone talked about. She saw someone who understood. Someone who had also spent his life expecting betrayal. A woman walked into the room carrying a tablet. She looked to be in her early 30s. Sharp eyes. Professional clothing. The type of person who missed nothing. Roman. She stopped when she saw Elena. Her expression changed slightly. Not judgment. Assessment. This is Elena Voss. The woman looked surprised. Voss. Roman nodded. Yes. The woman looked back at Elena. The Voss family? Elena lowered her eyes. Unfortunately. The woman studied her. Then looked at Roman. Do they know she's here? No. Good. Elena noticed the exchange. Who are you? The woman extended her hand. Clara Bennett. Elena shook it. What do you do? Clara gave a small smile. I solve problems. Elena looked at Roman. And what kind of problems does she solve? Roman answered. The expensive kind. A few minutes later, Elena sat at the dining table. A warm meal was placed in front of her. She stared at it. She hadn't realized how hungry she was. Roman noticed. Eat. She looked up. I'm not a charity case. His eyes narrowed slightly. I didn't say you were. Then why are you doing this? Roman leaned back. Because someone should have. Those words were simple. But they hurt more than she expected. Because deep down, that was what hurt the most. Not losing the mansion. Not losing the money. Not even losing her husband's family. It was realizing that when she needed someone, nobody came. Except a man she had saved 3 years ago. After she ate, Roman placed a folder on the table. Elena looked at it. What is that? Everything I know. About what? Your situation. Her expression changed. You investigated me? No. He paused. I investigated them. Inside the folder were documents. Photos. Financial records. Memes. Elena slowly opened it. The first page showed Victoria Voss, family matriarch. Below it, known for controlling family assets, political connections, influence over legal institutions, aggressive corporate acquisitions. Elena kept reading. Then she stopped. Wait. Roman looked at her. What? She pointed. This isn't about the inheritance. Roman nodded. No. Then what is it about? His expression became serious. Your husband. Elena froze. What about Alexander? Roman watched her carefully. Do you believe he died naturally? The question hit her like a punch. She closed the folder. Don't. Roman didn't move. Elena. No. Her voice became sharper. My husband died because of an accident. That's what they want you to believe. She stood. You don't know him. Roman stayed calm. I know people. She stared at him. And you think you know my husband better than me? No. The pause. I think I know people who kill for money. The room went quiet. Elena turned away. Because a small part of her had already wondered the same thing. Alexander's death had been strange. Too convenient. Too sudden. 3 days before the accident, he was preparing legal documents. 2 days before, he suddenly changed his mind. 1 day before, he couldn't answer her calls. The crash. The funeral. The family taking control. Everything happened so quickly. Almost perfectly. Too perfectly. I need proof, Elena whispered. Roman looked at her. You'll get it. How? By finding what they missed. Meanwhile, inside the Voss mansion, Victoria was furious. She paced across the same marble floor where Elena had stood hours earlier. How did she contact him? Nobody answered. Her assistant stood silently. Victoria turned. I asked a question. We don't know. She grabbed the glass from the table. You understand what this means? The assistant nodded. Roman haze. Victoria looked toward the window. For the first time that night, fear appeared on her face. Not anger. Not arrogance. Fear. Because Victoria knew something most people didn't. Roman Hayes wasn't dangerous because he was violent. He was dangerous because he was patient. He didn't destroy people immediately. He studied them, found weaknesses, waited, then removed everything they built, one piece at a time. Back at the penthouse, Elena stood near the window. Roman approached. You should sleep. She didn't turn. I can't. Why? Because tomorrow I wake up and none of this changes. Roman stopped beside her. What do you mean? My husband is still dead. Silence. My home is still gone. Another pause. And the people who did this are still powerful. Roman looked at the city below. Power is temporary. Elena looked at him. You really believe that? I know it. How? Roman's eyes became distant. Because I watched powerful people lose everything before. She studied him. Who did that to them? Roman looked back at her. I did. The next morning, Elena woke up in a guest room. For a few seconds, she forgot everything. Then reality returned. Alexander, Victoria, the mansion, the rain, the street. She sat up. A small envelope was on the table beside the bed. Inside was a note. 3 words. Come downstairs. No signature. But she knew. Roman. When she entered the main room, she found him already working. Multiple screens. Documents. Phone calls. His entire world moving around him. He looked up. Good morning. Elena looked at the screens. What are you doing? Finding the truth. She walked closer. Already? Roman nodded. Your mother-in-law made one mistake. What? She underestimated you. Elena frowned. How? She thought removing your money removed your power. He turned a screen toward her. But she forgot something. Elena looked. A photograph appeared. Alexander, her husband, standing outside a building she recognized. Her eyes widened. That's... Yes. Roman looked at her. Your husband was investigating his own family before he died. Elena felt the room spinning. No. Roman placed another document down. 3 weeks before his accident, Alexander created a private account. For what? Roman looked directly at her. To expose his family. Elena stared at the evidence. For the first time since Alexander died, she felt something stronger than grief. But hope came with a price. Because if Alexander was murdered, then someone powerful had to be responsible. And whoever killed him would not allow Elena to uncover the truth. Roman picked up his phone. A message appeared. His expression changed. Elena noticed. What happened? Roman looked at the screen. Then at her. Someone knows you're here. Her heart stopped. Who? Roman stood slowly. Your mother-in-law. Elena felt fear return. What is she going to do? Roman grabbed his jacket. His answer was quiet. She is going to make her biggest mistake. What mistake? Roman looked toward the elevator. Coming after you. The doors opened. His men were waiting. Roman stepped inside. Elena followed. Because she finally understood something. Last night, Roman Hayes did not rescue her. He declared war. The elevator descended silently. Floor after floor disappeared. Elena stood beside Roman Hayes, watching the numbers change. She didn't know where they were going. She didn't know what Roman planned. And strangely, for the first time in days, she wasn't afraid. Not because Roman was harmless. Everyone knew he wasn't. But because Elena had discovered something important. The people who destroyed her had spent years making her feel powerless. Roman did the opposite. He made her remember she still had power. The elevator doors opened. A private underground garage appeared. Black vehicles lined the walls. Men in dark suits stood waiting. Everything about the place felt organized. Controlled. Dangerous. Roman walked forward. Everyone moved. Not because they were forced. Because they respected him. Elena watched carefully. She had heard stories. Everyone had. Roman Hayes was not a man who built his empire through popularity. He built it through loyalty. People didn't follow him because they were afraid. They followed him because when Roman Hayes gave his word, it was considered more valuable than any contract. A man opened the back door of the SUV. Mr. Hayes. Roman nodded. Then looked at Elena. Get in. This time, she didn't argue. She entered. The city moved outside the window as they drove. For several minutes, neither spoke. Then Elena broke the silence. How many people work for you? Roman looked at her. Why? Because I'm trying to understand. Understand what? The kind of man who comes when someone sends 4 words. Roman looked back outside. Not many people would use that number. Why? Because they know what it means. Elena frowned. What does it mean? Roman answered quietly. When you call me, you don't get a favor. The pause. You get a war. They arrived at an old industrial building near the harbor. From outside, it looked abandoned. Broken windows. Empty walls. But when the security gates opened, Elena realized appearances meant nothing. Inside was a massive operation. People working. Screens showing financial information. Security teams monitoring cameras. Lawyers. Business analysts. A hidden empire. Roman walked through the building. Everyone greeted him. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just respectfully. Elena looked around. This is your headquarters? One of them. One of them. Roman glanced at her. You're going to have many questions. Yes. Good. She looked surprised. Good. Yes. Roman stopped walking. The most dangerous people are not those who ask questions. He looked directly at her. They are those who stop asking. They entered a private office. Unlike the Voss mansion, there was no unnecessary luxury. No gold. No expensive decorations. Just a large desk. Documents. A wall covered with information. Elena noticed something. Photographs. Connections. The entire city mapped like a chessboard. You keep records of everyone? Roman removed his jacket. I remember everything. She studied the wall. And what am I? Roman looked at her. What? On your board. Silence. Then Roman walked closer. You're not a target. Then what? He paused. A debt. The answer bothered her. I'm more than that. Roman's eyes softened slightly. I know. A man entered. Serious. Early 40s. Roman. He noticed Elena. Then immediately understood. This is her. Roman nodded. Ethan Cole. The man extended his hand. Security. Elena shook it. Your security? Ethan smiled slightly. Among other things. Roman placed a file on the desk. Update. Ethan opened it. The Voss family is moving faster than expected. Elena looked up. What do you mean? Ethan looked at Roman. Roman nodded. Tell her. Ethan turned toward Elena. Your mother-in-law is attempting to freeze every account connected to you. Elena felt her stomach drop. She can do that? She has influence. Ethan continued. She is also spreading a story. What story? Ethan hesitated. Then answered. That you manipulated Alexander while he was sick. Elena went silent. The accusation hurt because it attacked the one thing she valued. Her love for Alexander. They're trying to make people believe I was after his money. Roman watched her reaction. They are not trying to win legally. Then what are they doing? They are destroying your credibility. Elena understood immediately. If nobody believed her, even the truth would not matter. Roman placed another folder in front of her. Open it. Inside were newspaper articles, photos, old reports. Elena read through them, then stopped. Wait. A name appeared repeatedly. Marcus Voss. Alexander's older brother. He died 5 years ago, Elena whispered. Roman nodded. Yes. Why are you showing me this? Because his death was also called an accident. Elena looked up. Another cold feeling entered her chest. You think? I think your husband was not the first person in that family to discover something. The room became silent. Elena looked at the evidence. Years of secrets. Years of lies. Suddenly, Alexander's final weeks made sense. The fear. The urgency. The hidden documents. He wasn't just protecting her. He was trying to expose something. Why didn't he tell me? Roman answered immediately. Because he loved you. Elena looked at him. He knew your enemy was his family. The pause. He probably thought keeping you away would keep you safe. Those words broke something inside her. Because that sounded exactly like Alexander. Always protecting others. Even when he was the one suffering. Meanwhile, at the Voss mansion, Victoria sat across from her private lawyer. I want her reputation destroyed before noon. The lawyer nodded. And Roman Hayes? Victoria's expression changed. We handle him carefully. The lawyer looked confused. Carefully? Victoria smiled. Yes. Because Victoria Voss understood something. You don't fight a storm. You redirect it. There is one weakness every powerful man has. The lawyer asked. What weakness? Victoria looked at a photograph of Elena. Something he wants to protect. Back at Roman's office. Elena noticed something. Roman was staring at a photograph on his desk. A woman. An older woman. Who is she? Roman looked down. My mother. Elena was surprised. I didn't know you had family. Roman was quiet. She died when I was young. I'm sorry. Roman looked away. Sorry doesn't change anything. No. Elena replied softly. But sometimes people need to hear it anyway. Roman looked at her. For a moment, the powerful Mafia boss disappeared, and she saw the wounded man underneath. Only for a second. Then the walls returned. A phone rang. Roman answered. Talk. The pause. His expression changed. Elena noticed. What happened? Roman ended the call. The Voss family made their move. What did they do? Roman looked at Ethan. Show her. Ethan turned the screen around. A live news report appeared. A reporter stood outside the Voss headquarters. Breaking news. Widow accused of manipulating late billionaire husband before death. Elena watched her own photograph appear on television. Her face. Her name. Her life. Being destroyed publicly. The world was now seeing her as the villain. She slowly sat down. They won. Roman looked at her. No. She looked at him. They just started. Roman walked toward the screen. His expression became colder than Elena had ever seen. Victoria Voss thinks she knows how to destroy people. The pause. She has never met someone who knows how to destroy her. Before we continue, if you are still watching Elena's journey, subscribe to the channel. The battle is just beginning, and the next chapter reveals the secret Alexander died trying to expose. Roman turned back to Elena. Tomorrow morning, we go after the truth. She looked at him. And if we find out they killed Alexander? Roman's eyes became dark. Then they will learn the difference between having power. He picked up his coat. And having protection. Elena looked at him. For the first time, she realized something terrifying. Roman Hayes wasn't saving her because he felt sorry for her. He was saving her because someone had crossed a line. And now, the most dangerous man in the city had a reason. The city looked different from the top floor of Roman Hayes' headquarters. From that height, everything appeared small. The cars, the people, the buildings, the problems. But Elena knew better. A person's entire world could collapse in one moment. She had learned that lesson the night Victoria Voss pushed her out of the mansion. One signature, one lie, one betrayal, and everything she thought she owned disappeared. Now she stood beside a window overlooking the city, holding a cup of coffee she had forgotten to drink. 3 days ago, she was homeless. Today, she was sitting inside the most protected building in the city, surrounded by people who answered to the most feared man alive. But despite all the power around her, she still felt something missing. The truth. Roman entered the room silently. He always did that. It was strange. A man feared by thousands could walk into a room without making a sound. Elena turned. Any news? Roman placed a file on the table. Daniel Cross disappeared. Her heart sank. Of course he did. He knew we were looking. Elena looked at the file. What about Victoria? She hasn't left her penthouse in 48 hours. She's scared? Roman shook his head. No. The pause. She is preparing. Elena opened the file. Inside were pictures. Daniel. Alexander. Victoria. Meetings. Dates. Locations. Her fingers tightened around the pages. How long? Roman looked at her. How long what? How long was Daniel working with her? Roman didn't answer immediately. That silence told her everything. Roman. 7 years. Elena froze. 7. Yes. She slowly sat down. 7 years. Daniel had been Alexander's best friend for 7 years. He had attended their wedding. He had visited them when Alexander was sick. He had stood beside Elena at the funeral. And all that time, he was betraying them. Why? Roman looked at the documents. Money. Elena shook her head. No. She looked up. People don't destroy someone they love for only money. Roman studied her. You're right. Then what was it? His answer was quiet. Power. Across the city, Daniel Cross sat inside an expensive apartment that no longer felt like home. He stared at his reflection. For years, he convinced himself he was doing what was necessary. Alexander was too naive. He wanted honesty, justice, a clean company. Daniel thought that was weakness. Victoria understood the real world. Money, influence, control. Those were the things that mattered. But now, Roman Hayes knew. And Roman Hayes was not a man you betrayed. The door opened. Daniel immediately reached for the weapon hidden under his jacket. Then stopped. Victoria walked inside. You look nervous. Daniel lowered his hand. You said this would never happen. Victoria removed her coat. And it hasn't. Roman found out. Yes. You said he wouldn't. Victoria looked at him coldly. I said we would handle it. Daniel laughed bitterly. Handle it? He stepped closer. You don't understand who you're dealing with. Victoria's expression changed. A small smile. Neither do you. She placed a folder on the table. Daniel opened it. His face changed. Inside were documents. Photographs. Evidence. His entire history. You've been recording me? Victoria didn't respond. Why? Insurance. Daniel stared at her. You plan to sacrifice me. Victoria walked toward the door. Everyone becomes a sacrifice eventually. Back at Roman's headquarters. Elena sat across from Roman. Tell me about Alexander's last day. Roman looked surprised. Why? Because everyone keeps telling me pieces. She looked at him. Victoria lied. Daniel lied. My husband's family lied. The pause. I need the whole truth. Roman was silent. Then he opened a drawer. He removed a small black folder. Elena noticed. You already had that? Yes. Why didn't you show me? Roman looked down. Because I wasn't sure you were ready. She almost laughed. Ready? Her voice became emotional. Roman, they stole my home. They destroyed my marriage. They made me believe I was nothing. She leaned forward. I think I was ready the moment I was sitting outside in the rain. Roman looked at her. And this time, he understood. He opened the folder. Inside were reports from 3 years ago. The night Roman was injured. The night Elena saved his life. You investigated me? Elena asked. No. Roman answered. I investigated what happened that night. She frowned. What do you mean? Roman looked at the documents. Someone tried to kill me. The room became silent. Elena stared. You told me you were attacked. I was. By who? Roman looked at her. The same people who wanted Alexander silent. Elena felt a chill. What? Roman continued. 3 years ago, I was investigating money movement through several companies. Voss companies? Yes. You knew. I suspected. Elena stood. So you knew my husband's family was dangerous? Roman's eyes hardened. I knew something was wrong. But you didn't tell him? No. Why? Roman looked away. Because Alexander refused my help. Why? Because he believed he could fix his family from inside. Elena closed her eyes. That sounded exactly like Alexander. He always believed people could change. Even when they proved they couldn't. Roman continued. Your husband discovered something big. The money laundering. Yes. But there was more. Elena looked at him. What? Roman slid another document across the table. A list of names. Executives. Officials. Business leaders. Then one name. At the top. Elena stared. Because it wasn't Victoria. It wasn't Daniel. It was someone she never expected. Someone closer. Her breathing stopped. No. Roman watched her reaction. You know him. Slowly, Elena nodded. He was at our wedding. Roman's expression darkened. Exactly. Before Elena could say anything, the entire building went into lockdown. Red lights flashed. Security alarms sounded. Roman immediately stood. What happened? Ethan's voice came through the communication system. Movement detected on the lower floors. Roman's face changed. How many? The pause. Too many. Elena looked at him. Are we under attack? Roman grabbed his jacket. Yes. She stood. Then I'm coming. No. Roman. You stay here. She looked directly at him. That's what everyone says when they think I'm helpless. Silence. Roman stared at her. Then he slowly handed her a small communication device. Stay beside Ethan. She understood. This was not permission. It was trust. The lower floors erupted into chaos. But not panic. Roman's organization moved like a machine. Doors locked. Security teams positioned. Cameras tracked movement. Roman walked through the hallway. Unhurried. Like he already knew the ending. A voice came through the speakers. Roman Hayes. Everyone stopped. Because the voice was familiar. Roman looked toward the camera. Victoria Voss appeared on the screen. Still hiding behind your walls? Roman stared. You broke into my building. Victoria smiled. No. The pause. I walked in. Roman's eyes narrowed. What did you do? Victoria leaned closer to the camera. I brought you a gift. The elevator doors opened. One person stepped out. Elena's blood ran cold. Because the person standing there was someone she thought was dead. Someone connected to Alexander. Someone who knew every secret. Roman whispered. This changes everything. Elena arrived behind him. She saw the person. Her face lost all color. Impossible. The person looked at her. Elena. The pause. I'm sorry. Because standing in front of them was Alexander Voss. Her dead husband. For 5 seconds. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The entire world seemed to stop. Elena stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the man standing in front of her. The man she buried. The man whose funeral she attended. The man whose photograph she had held while crying herself to sleep. Alexander Voss. Alive. Breathing. Looking at her with the same tired eyes she remembered. No. The word escaped her lips. It wasn't anger. It wasn't happiness. It was disbelief. Her mind refused to accept what her eyes were seeing. You're dead. Alexander swallowed. I know. Elena took one step backward. No. Her voice became louder. No, you don't get to say that. Everyone became silent. Because they understood. This was not a reunion. This was a wound being reopened. You were dead. Alexander lowered his eyes. I know. You let me believe you were dead. I had no choice. The pain on Elena's face changed into something colder. Something Roman recognized immediately. Betrayal. Roman watched Alexander carefully. His hand remained close to his jacket. Not because he wanted to hurt him. Because Roman Hayes trusted almost nobody. And a dead man returning from the grave? That was impossible. Impossible things usually came with a price. Explain. Roman's voice cut through the silence. Alexander looked at him. Roman. You knew I was investigating the Voss family. Yes. You knew they were dangerous. Yes. And you disappeared. Alexander nodded. I had to. Roman stepped closer. You allowed your wife to suffer. Alexander looked at Elena. And for the first time, his confidence disappeared. I know. Elena laughed. But there was no humor in it. You know. She wiped away a tear. That's your explanation? Alexander looked broken. Elena. No. She raised her hand. Don't. The same woman who once begged Victoria Voss for acceptance now stood in front of her husband without fear. You watched them destroy my life. I was trying to protect you. Her eyes hardened. Everyone says that. Silence. Everyone who hurts me says they were protecting me. 3 years earlier, Alexander Voss discovered something that changed everything. His family's empire wasn't built on success. It was built on secrets. Money moved through fake companies. Deals were manipulated. People disappeared when they became problems. At first, Alexander believed he could expose it quietly. He was wrong. Because his own family was prepared to destroy anyone who threatened them. Including him. I found the financial records, Alexander explained. They were hidden inside company archives. Elena listened silently. The money wasn't just being stolen. Roman nodded. Because it was being cleaned. Alexander looked at him. You knew. I suspected. Alexander continued. My father discovered I knew. Elena looked at him. What happened that night? Alexander hesitated. The accident wasn't an accident. The words hit the room like a weapon. They sabotaged my car. Elena covered her mouth. They tried to kill you. Yes. But you survived. Alexander nodded. Barely. Then why didn't you come home? That question hurt more than anything. Alexander looked at Elena. Because they were watching. I was your wife. I know. You should have trusted me. His silence answered. And that hurt. More than she expected. Alexander walked closer. There was one person I trusted. Elena looked at him. Who? He looked at Roman. Roman. Roman's expression changed slightly. Me. I sent you information. Roman narrowed his eyes. I never received anything. Because someone intercepted it. Everyone became quiet. Who? Alexander looked toward the elevator. Daniel Cross. Elena closed her eyes. Another betrayal. Another person. Another lie. Daniel wasn't just working for Victoria. He was the reason Alexander disappeared. Roman immediately turned. Where is Daniel now? Alexander looked serious. Gone. Where? He's not running. The pause. He's coming. At that exact moment, the lights went out. The building became completely dark. A second later, emergency lights turned on. Warning. Danger. Ethan's voice came through. Roman. What? Someone disabled the security system. Roman looked at Alexander. How? Alexander answered quietly. Because Daniel built part of this system. Then every screen in the building turned on. Daniel Cross appeared. Smiling. Hello, everyone. Elena stared at the screen. Daniel? His smile widened. I know this is a dramatic reunion. Roman stepped toward the screen. Where are you? Daniel laughed. Still asking the wrong questions, Roman? The pause. The question is... The camera moved, showing Victoria standing beside him. Who actually controls the game? Victoria looked directly into the camera. Elena. Her voice was calm. You always believed you were the victim. Elena stared. You threw me out. Victoria smiled. Yes. And you tried to destroy me. Yes. Why? Victoria's expression became colder. Because Alexander made a mistake. What mistake? He loved you. The room went silent. Victoria continued. You were the only weakness he had. Elena felt anger rising. Not sadness. Anger. You killed your own son because he loved his wife? Victoria smiled slightly. You still don't understand. She looked at Alexander. Alexander was never supposed to inherit the empire. Roman watched carefully. Then who was? Victoria looked at Daniel. Daniel smiled. Elena's heart dropped. No. Daniel stepped closer to the camera. I was always the better choice. The truth finally surfaced. Daniel wasn't just an employee. He wasn't just a friend. He was the person Victoria had been preparing. Alexander's voice became cold. You used him. Victoria laughed. No. She looked at Daniel. He understood something you never did. What? Family is not about blood. The pause. Family is about loyalty. Roman stepped forward. Where is the evidence? Daniel smiled. Gone. You think so? Daniel's smile faded slightly. Roman continued. You made one mistake. What? You assumed Elena was still the woman you abandoned. The camera remained silent. Roman looked at Elena. And she understood. For the first time, she wasn't waiting for someone to save her. She stepped forward. Daniel. His eyes moved to her. You destroyed my husband's life. Silence. You destroyed mine. The pause. But you made one mistake. Daniel frowned. What? Elena looked at Roman. Then back at the screen. You underestimated what happens when someone loses everything. Daniel laughed. You think you're powerful now? Elena answered calmly. No. The pause. I know I am. Victoria watched her carefully. And for the first time, Victoria looked uncertain. Because the frightened woman she pushed into the rain was gone. Daniel's expression changed. Bring her. Everyone froze. Roman's eyes narrowed. Bring who? Daniel smiled. The elevator doors behind them opened. A woman stepped out. Elena immediately recognized her. It was Alexander's former assistant. The woman who disappeared after his funeral. The woman who knew everything. She was holding a small black folder. Daniel spoke. The truth you are searching for, he smiled, is inside that folder. The assistant looked at Elena. I'm sorry. Then she looked at Roman. Because what is inside this folder? The pause. Will destroy everyone. Roman walked toward the folder. But Elena stopped him. No. Everyone looked at her. She reached out. I need to see it. Roman studied her face. You sure? Elena nodded. I spent my whole life being protected from the truth. She took the folder. I'm done living in the dark. She opened it. The first page. Her hands started shaking. Because it wasn't about Victoria. It wasn't about Daniel. It wasn't even about Alexander. It was about Roman Hayes. A photograph fell from the folder. A photograph taken 15 years earlier. A younger Roman. Standing beside someone Elena knew. Someone impossible. Someone connected to her own family. Elena looked up. Roman. His expression changed. Because he knew. The secret he buried for years had finally returned. The folder fell slightly from Elena's hands. Not because it was heavy. Because the truth inside it felt heavier than anything she had ever carried. The room was silent. Everyone was watching Roman. Not Elena. Not Alexander. Roman. The man who always seemed impossible to break. The man who had rescued her from the rain. The man who promised he would never lie to her. Now, he was standing there with a secret written all over his face. Elena slowly looked down at the photograph again. A younger Roman Hayes. Standing beside a man she recognized. A man whose face she had seen hundreds of times. A man whose name appeared on every document connected to the Voss family. Her own father. Explain. Elena's voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Roman did not answer immediately. That was the first time she saw something she never expected. Hesitation. Roman Hayes was never uncertain. Never. But now, he was choosing his words carefully. And that scared her. Roman. He looked at her. The man in that picture. The pause. Was my father. Elena stared. I know. Roman's eyes narrowed slightly. You knew. I knew his name. She held up the photograph. He worked with Alexander's grandfather. Roman nodded. But you don't know the whole story. The room became tense. Even Roman's men stepped back. Because they understood. This was no longer a business conflict. This was personal. Very personal. 15 years earlier. Before Roman Hayes became the man everyone feared. He was just a young man trying to escape his father's shadow. His father, Marcus Hayes, was one of the most powerful figures in the city's underground world. A man who believed fear was the only language people understood. Roman hated him. He hated everything he represented. The violence. The manipulation. The destruction. So Roman left. He disappeared. He changed. He built his own empire with one rule. Never become his father. But then he discovered something. His father wasn't the only monster. The Voss family had been working with him for decades. Two powerful families. One empire. One secret. Roman looked at Elena. Your father knew. She froze. My father? Yes. What did he know? Roman looked away. He knew what the Voss family was doing. Elena shook her head. No. He helped cover it. The words hit harder than she expected. No. Roman stepped closer. I didn't want you to find out this way. Then how? The pause. I wanted to tell you when I had proof. Elena laughed bitterly. Proof. Her eyes became wet. Everyone always waits until they have proof. She looked at Alexander. You waited. Then Roman. You waited. She shook her head. And I was the only person who never got a choice. Alexander lowered his head. Because he knew she was right. Roman walked toward her. Elena. She stepped back. For the first time since they met. She stepped away from him. That hurt more than any enemy attack. You saved me. Roman nodded. Yes. You protected me. Yes. But you also knew things about my life that I didn't know. Silence. You knew my husband's family was dangerous. Yes. You knew my father was connected. Yes. Then what else? Roman said nothing. And that silence was the most painful answer. Across the city, Victoria watched everything through a hidden camera. She smiled. Good. Daniel looked confused. You wanted them to discover this? Victoria nodded. Of course. Why? Because Roman Hayes has one weakness. Daniel looked at the screen. Elena. Victoria shook her head. No. The pause. His guilt. Back at the headquarters, Elena opened another document from the folder. Her eyes moved quickly, then stopped. What is this? Roman looked. His expression changed, because he recognized the document. A transfer agreement, signed 15 years earlier, between Hayes Holdings and Voss International. But there was something else. A third signature. Someone who shouldn't have been involved. Someone Elena knew. Her hand covered her mouth. No. Alexander stepped closer. What? She looked at him. My mother. The room froze. My mother? Elena repeated. My mother signed this? Roman looked serious. Yes. She shook her head. That's impossible. She was involved. No. Elena backed away. My mother died when I was 12. Roman's voice softened. I know. Then how? Nobody answered. Then the communication system activated. Ethan's voice came through. Roman. What? We found something. Roman turned. What? The pause. Daniel isn't the only person inside the building. Everyone became alert. Someone else entered. Roman looked at Elena. Who? Ethan answered. Someone with authorized access. The elevator doors opened. Slowly. Everyone prepared. Roman's men moved into position. A woman stepped out. Older. Elegant. Elena immediately recognized her. Her heart stopped. Because she had seen that face before. In childhood photographs. In old family albums. In memories she thought were gone forever. Mom. The woman looked at Elena. Tears formed in her eyes. Elena. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Because Elena's mother was supposed to be dead. Elena stared. How? The woman walked forward slowly. I'm sorry. Those words. Everyone was sorry. Everyone had an explanation. Everyone had secrets. Elena's voice shook. You were alive? Her mother nodded. Yes. Why did you leave me? The woman looked down. Because staying would have killed you. Elena laughed painfully. So everyone disappears to protect me? Silence. Her mother looked at Roman. Then Alexander. Then Elena. I didn't disappear. The pause. I was hiding. Roman stepped forward. Where have you been? Elena's mother looked at him. You know exactly where. Roman's expression changed. You worked with him. She nodded. With your father. The room became silent. Elena looked between them. What is happening? Her mother took a deep breath. Your father and Roman's father were not enemies. The pause. They were partners. Elena felt dizzy. And the Voss family? Her mother whispered. They were the ones controlling both. Nobody spoke. Because suddenly, the entire story changed. Victoria wasn't the beginning. She wasn't even the mastermind. She was just another player. Roman looked at Elena. We need to leave. She looked at him. Why? His eyes moved toward the security monitors. The cameras showed dozens of vehicles surrounding the building. Not police. Not Victoria's people. Someone else. Someone more powerful. Ethan's voice came through. Roman. The pause. You need to see this. The main screen turned on. A man appeared. Older. Gray hair. Cold eyes. A face Roman recognized instantly. Roman stopped breathing. Because the man on the screen was the one person he believed was dead. His father. Marcus Hayes. The older man smiled. Hello, son. Roman's face changed. For the first time, Elena saw fear. Real fear. Not for himself. For what was coming. Marcus continued. You spent 15 years trying to destroy my world. The pause. But you forgot one thing. He leaned closer. You were never outside my world. The screen went black. Then one final message appeared. The final game begins tonight. Elena looked at Roman. What happens now? Roman stared at the screen. His voice was barely a whisper. Now. The pause. We find out who the real monster is. The city had never been this quiet. Not because there was no noise. There was. Cars moved through the streets. People walked through crowded sidewalks. Businesses continued as usual. But inside Roman Hayes' headquarters, everything had stopped. Because the man who built an empire out of fear was finally facing the one person he spent his entire life trying to escape. His father, Marcus Hayes. Elena watched Roman. The change was obvious. This was not the man who walked into the rain to save her. This was not the man who entered the Sullivan mansion without fear. This was a son standing in front of a ghost from his past. You knew he was alive. It wasn't a question. Roman looked at her. No. She searched his face. You're sure? Yes. For the first time, Elena believed him. Because Roman Hayes could hide anger. He could hide pain. But he could not hide the shock on his face. Alexander looked at the security screens. We have to move. Roman nodded. Everyone downstairs. Now. Elena looked at him. What about him? Roman looked at the screen. At his father. He wants me to come to him. And you're going? Yes. Elena stepped closer. No. Everyone looked at her. Roman frowned. Elena. You spent years fighting alone. The pause. So did I. She looked directly at him. I'm done watching people I care about walk into danger while I stay behind. Roman stared. 3 months ago, Elena would have lowered her eyes. Apologized. Accepted being powerless. But that woman was gone. The rain had washed her away. The betrayal had burned her away. What remained was someone stronger. Roman finally nodded. Stay beside me. Elena answered. I always was. The location was an abandoned shipping warehouse on the edge of the city. The same place where Roman's empire began. The same place where his father built his. Rain fell heavily. Almost exactly like the night Elena was thrown out. But this time, she wasn't on the ground. She wasn't alone. She stepped out of the vehicle beside Roman. And everyone watching understood something. The woman they once discarded had returned. Inside the warehouse, Marcus Hayes waited. Older. Slower. But still dangerous. He stood beside Daniel Cross and Victoria Voss. The 3 people responsible for destroying countless lives. Roman stopped several feet away. You're alive. Marcus smiled. Disappointed? No. Roman's voice was cold. Just surprised. Marcus laughed. You always were different. You mean I wasn't like you? Marcus smiled. Exactly. Elena looked around. So this was the plan? Victoria looked at her. You were never supposed to survive. Elena's eyes narrowed. Why me? Victoria walked closer. Because Alexander loved you. That makes no sense. It does. Victoria smiled. Love makes people weak. Roman interrupted. No. Everyone looked at him. It makes people predictable. The pause. And you underestimated what love makes people willing to do. Marcus looked at Roman. You became soft. Roman laughed quietly. No. The pause. I became better. Marcus shook his head. You built your empire because of me. I built it despite you. Daniel stepped forward. You two are exactly alike. Roman looked at him. You wish. Daniel smiled. You think you're different because you have rules? He laughed. You are still a man with power forcing the world to obey. Elena looked at Daniel. No. Everyone turned. She continued. The difference is Roman knows power is a responsibility. She looked at Victoria. You used power to destroy. Then Marcus. You used power to control. Then Daniel. You used power because you were afraid you had none. Daniel's expression changed. Because Elena had found the one thing everyone around him missed. His insecurity. Marcus slowly clapped. Interesting. He looked at Elena. You became stronger than I expected. Elena stared. You knew about me? Marcus smiled. Of course. Her face changed. What? You think Victoria discovered you accidentally? Silence. Marcus continued. You were always the key. Roman immediately became alert. What did you say? Marcus looked at Elena. Your mother didn't hide you because of the Voss family. The pause. She hid you because of what your father left behind. Elena felt her heartbeat increase. My father? Marcus nodded. He discovered everything. The money? The companies? Marcus smiled. Something much bigger. He handed Roman a small envelope. Roman caught it. What is this? Your father's final message. Roman froze. My father? Yes. Marcus looked at Elena. And hers? Elena stepped forward. My mother? Marcus nodded. She knew where it was hidden. Roman opened the envelope. Inside was one page. A handwritten note. His expression changed as he read. Elena watched. What does it say? Roman slowly handed it to her. The message was simple. The person who controls the truth controls the empire. Below it, the truth is not in the money. The truth is in the bloodline. Elena looked up. What does that mean? Nobody answered. Then her mother stepped forward. You need to know. Everyone turned. She looked at Elena. Your father wasn't just investigating the Voss family. The pause. He was investigating yours. Elena froze. My family? Her mother nodded. The Gallaghers were the original owners of the entire network. Roman looked shocked. What? Marcus smiled. Now you understand. The truth finally came out. Decades ago. Before the Voss family. Before the Hayes Empire. Before all the corruption. There was another family. The Gallaghers. A family that built legitimate businesses. Shipping. Technology. Real estate. But they refused to become criminals. So powerful people destroyed them. Changed records. Stole companies. Erased their name. Elena wasn't targeted because she was weak. She was targeted because she was the last person who could expose them. Victoria's face changed. You weren't supposed to know. Elena looked at her. You destroyed my life because you were afraid of a woman who didn't even know her own power. Victoria said nothing. Because it was true. Marcus stepped forward. Roman. Roman looked at him. You and Elena are the only two people capable of rebuilding everything. Roman stared. You want me to continue your empire? Marcus smiled. No. The pause. I want you to decide what happens to it. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Roman looked at Elena. And she understood. The decision wasn't about revenge. It was about ending the cycle. 3 months later, the city saw something nobody expected. The Voss Empire disappeared. The Hayes criminal network was dismantled. The companies were rebuilt under new leadership. A new name appeared across every building. Gallagher Global Holdings. Inside the new headquarters, Elena stood in front of a massive window. The city stretched beneath her. Different. Not because the city changed. Because she did. Roman entered. You're early. She smiled. You're late. A rare smile appeared on his face. Impossible. She turned. Roman Hayes being late? He shrugged. Things happen. She laughed softly. Something she hadn't done in a long time. On her desk sat a framed photograph. Not of Alexander. Not of the people who hurt her. A photograph of herself. The woman sitting in the rain. The woman who had nothing. The woman who sent one anonymous text. Roman looked at the picture. You kept that? Yes. Why? Elena looked at it. Because I never want to forget. Forget what? She smiled. That losing everything was the moment I finally found myself. Roman walked beside her. The world still thinks I'm dangerous. Elena looked at him. You are. He raised an eyebrow. But. She smiled. But now you protect instead of destroy. The rain began falling outside. The same rain. The same city. The same world. But this time, Elena wasn't sitting on the pavement. She wasn't begging anyone for mercy. She was standing above the city. A woman who was once thrown away. A woman who was told she had nothing. A woman who discovered that sometimes, the people who lose everything are the ones who become impossible to defeat. Elena thought being driven out by her mother-in-law was the end of her life. She didn't know it was the beginning of her transformation. One anonymous text brought the most feared man in the city to her doorstep. But Roman Hayes didn't create her strength. He only reminded her that it was already there. The woman they tried to erase became the woman who rebuilt everything. 'Cause sometimes, the greatest revenge is not destroying your enemies. It is becoming someone they can never control again. If this story kept you watching from the beginning until the final reveal, subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of betrayal, survival, justice, and unexpected transformations.